Lesson 3.4 in pre-algebra, divisions with fractions, page number 195 in your text. Now in the last section, 3.3, we discussed multiplication with fractions, and in this lesson we're going to do division. And we started out with multiplication and division because those two are a lot easier to do fractions than the addition and the subtraction, which we'll get into in the next two lessons. So let's enjoy it being a little bit less challenging with division of fractions as well as the multiplication. Now that you're on page 195 with me, let's get started. The first definition that we're going to look at is in the brownish tan box in the middle of the page, and we're going to talk about what are called reciprocals. A reciprocal is basically taking a number and flipping it upside down. Every number except 0 has a reciprocal. For instance, 1/2. The reciprocal of that is 2/1. We flipped it upside down. 3/4 is 4/3. The number 2 can be written as 2/1, so its reciprocal is 1/2. So if you notice, we're just flipping things over. And that's an important concept to get because division is not one of those pleasant operations. So if we can do something about the division and make it into something else that we're more comfortable with, that makes life a lot easier on us. So what we're going to do is we're going to take every division problem of fractions and turn it into a multiplication problem. So the way we do that is we take our division like that. So 1/2 divided by 4, or by 1/4, basically means how many 1/4 are in 1/2. And the answer to that, if we were to take a pie and divide it into 1/4 sections, how many 1/4 are in a half? And the answer to that would be 2. So that's for the most part what we're doing as far as a division problem goes. But let's actually go ahead and do the math. And what we do with that is we take the second number, the 1/4, and we take the reciprocal of it. And instead of dividing, we multiply. What happens when we multiply? We take the top numbers and multiply over the bottom numbers multiplied. Then we have to reduce it, and we reduce it again, if you remember, by finding prime factors of 4 is 2 and 2, and that's over 2. And because we have a 2 up here and a 2 down here, we can divide those out, and that leaves us with an answer of 2, which is what we said before. How many 1/4 are there in 1/2? There are 2. Pretty simple, but let's do lots and lots more just to make sure you get this concept down. So we're going to use some numbers other than numerators of 1. And again, we're going to take the second fraction and flip it upside down, or take the reciprocal of it. And we multiply across. 12/72. One of the things that we can do, because now you have to reduce this. If you want to reduce it prior to multiplying, all you have to do is write each one of these fractions as the product of primes. 3/2 times 2 times 2. That's 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. And then our 4 is going to be 2 times 2, and our 9 is going to be 3 times 3. Then we can start dividing through. So we can divide that, we can divide that, and we can divide that, which leaves us with nothing on top, which when there's nothing on top, if you remember, there's always a 1, and then 3 times 2 is 6, and we're done. So it's already reduced because we started dividing out up here when we still had our products of primes. So you can do it that way, or you could multiply like I did earlier and get 12/72 and then find the product of primes. And then, let's see, 2 times, or let's do 3. Let's do 2 times 3 times 2 times 3 times 2. What's that? 6, 12, 36, 72. And then we start getting rid of our numbers here. We're left with a 1 on top, and 3 times 2 is 6 here. So either way, it works. It's just a little bit more of a hassle to take your 12 over 72, especially the 72, and write it as a product of primes. It's a lot easier to look at this and be, oh, this is 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times 3. You've got your product of primes done, you do your division, and you get the answer right away. You know you don't have to reduce because you already did it at the beginning. This way you've got larger numbers to deal with. So I prefer doing it at the beginning. Alright, let's try this one. Negative 2/3. We're going to divide that by 2. So first of all, we're going to rewrite this 2 as a fraction. Any number, if it's not as a fraction, can be written as a fraction by putting it over 1. Our division sign says we're going to take this and turn it upside down and change that to a multiplication. Now we can multiply across. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 3 times 2 is 6. Then we can do our product of primes. Negative 2, that's already a prime, and 3 times 2. So what we can do is we can cross out our 2 and this 2. Notice I did not cross out the negative. We didn't cross out the negative, just the number. Which, when we cross everything out, we're left with a 1 on top. That negative gets drug along, nothing happened to it, over 3. So we get negative 1/3. Alright, let's try that next example there on the bottom of page 196. This time we're going to put the 2 first, and we're going to divide it by negative 1/3. Notice how I put the parentheses there just to show that that negative was there. You never want to write your operations, your plus, minuses, multiplication, and division side by side without a number between them. So you put a parentheses there to separate them since they are side by side. So the parenthesis helps isolate that negative 1/3. So now we're going to change this to times, and we're going to put it as 3 over 1. Whoops, where that came from, I don't know. And leave that as a negative, which gives me 2 over 1, make it a fraction just so I don't get confused. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Leaves me with an answer of negative 6. Alright, so let's continue on. A few more examples. Make sure you get this down. 4 over 27 divided by 16 over 9. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip it over again. Times 9 over 16. And remember, it's going to be a lot easier to find the prime factors now than it is later, because I have to multiply 27 times 16. So if I can find the prime factors before, it's going to make life a lot easier. 3 times 3 times 3 times the 9 and the 16. Okay, then I start canceling or dividing here. And then the 2's and my 2's, and that leaves me with nothing on the top. And 3 times 2 is 6 times 2 is 12. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this video off, and we'll do a 3.4b and continue on with some problems and then do some of the homework. So go ahead and turn off and head to 3.4b.